Troy, what the heck is going on?
What do you mean?
What are you wearing on your head?
A hat. I always wear hats, Crispy.
You know what? I think if we want your normal hat back, there's a few things we're going to have to do. We're going to have to sack Russell T Davies. We're going to have to sack Julie Gardner.
Gardener? Sack the gardener. What's the gardener done?
Sack the gardener. Anyway, we're talking about Christopher Eccleston, and Troy has a different hat on. That's the update, folks.
And if that's not enough to make you watch, I don't know what is. So why don't we roll the intro? Hello, my dear, and welcome back.
my
to Who's There? A Doctor Who podcast. We should roll with this right now. My name is Troy, his name is Crispy, but he's on intro duty and I'm doing the job for him. Crispy, what are we talking about today?
We're the hotline that accepts your calls from all of time and space, my dear. And we're talking about Christopher Eccleston.
With your hosts, Mr. Razor and Mr. Razor.
Hello, Mr. Razor, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, my dear. How are you? We need to stop. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. How are we all doing? How are we all doing? I'm talking like this is a Twitch stream
Good.
on my channel. I always do that when I introduce a stream.
There's no one else here but me.
Well, you're gonna have to be enough. You're gonna have to captivate me for the next 30 to 45 minutes, Crispy. Do you think you can do that?
Captivate you, mate.
Captivate me.
Do you think you're wearing a different cap on your head? I can't.
Is this just gonna be the whole episode?
I just can't. We're gonna get to the topic because I'm too distracted.
For the audio listeners, yes, I am wearing a different cap. It's from a game I've been playing recently called Crime Boss Rocky City.
Oh, I thought it was a Punisher hat. My bad.
No, it's not. It actually is quite similar to the Punisher logo now, but it's like this is like an in-game insignia from it's like a skull with a pistol over the top of it. So,
wow. Well, speaking
honestly,
of over
the
the
main
top,
reason I'm wearing it is because what?
I was gonna think of some dumb segue. Keep going.
No, I was only going to say the only reason I'm wearing it is because it's bigger on the top of my head and it's really hot right now, so it just doesn't feel quite as suffocating. Because God forbid I show my hair in a podcast episode, so at least let's give my head some breathing room under the hat.
That's why I got a hat as well.
There you go.
This
Messy
morning.
hair gang. Messy
Messy
hair gang. That's
hair-
why we're best friends. That's how it works.
Messy hair gang, what's up?
But ladies and gentlemen, we have a question for you. And the question is, do you think Christopher Eccleston will ever return to Doctor Who? So in this episode today, we're going to listen to your calls, your hot takes, discuss ours, and also do a bit of a dive into the history of Christopher Eccleston's thoughts on Doctor Who. And it's going to be supported by a very handy article from The Direct, who made an article back when he made his little statement at Comic-Con a few months ago about sacking some staff, which we'll get to, but also reference some previous conversations. So it's going to give us almost like an actual structure to the podcast.
That's the only way that this show is ever allowed structure, is if someone else has done it for us. But yes.
Who made the article? Let's shout them out.
Yeah, please.
Sam Hargrave. Thanks for saving Who's There.
Thank
There
you
go.
very,
Isn't that the
very
name
much.
of the guy who directed Extraction?
Oh, this is fun trivia with
Here
Troy.
comes my really weird knowledge. Yeah, he is.
Whoa.
He is. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. It's very strange. Anyway, Crispy, should we take a caller?
Yeah, let's see what people think about Christopher Eccleston. Is he done with Doctor Who? Is there a chance? Let's go with the Mikey Who? Oh,
The
no, that's a long
Mikey
call.
Who?
Nah, it's a long call. I'm moving on.
Right, so you shout him out and then say it's too long. There you go, Mikey,
Well,
you've been
you
exposed.
know what? Sometimes you got to lift them up just to bring them down. Here we go.
That's so true. That's so true. We have said, actually, I should remind people that we do try and keep calls to 30 seconds or less. We kind of were a bit more lax on it during season 1, but if you guys can aim for that, it would be helpful. Just because we don't have very long attention spans, okay? Crispy
No.
falls asleep 5 seconds into me answering something, you know?
We've got
For example, if I
TikTok
look at Crispy
brains.
right now and I say, Crispy, can you tell me what your thoughts are on season 1? Because I really feel like you're supposed to fall asleep. There you go. Close enough. There you go, he's fallen asleep. To be fair, just a round of applause for Crispy. He doesn't have to do a soundboard, but just can everyone give him a round of applause right now. He is awake at 19 minutes past 7 in the morning on a Saturday morning.
It's not that crazy.
No,
that's not that
for me,
crazy.
that's insanity. You ask me to do that, I tell you where to shove the suggestion, fella. I'm
just
telling you now.
My nose at this hour is just blocked as hell. But some people might and my throat is sore, so people might like the deep, sultry tones of Crispy Pro.
I'm wondering what's
7 a.m.
causing it, but who knows?
Oh my gosh, who knows?
Who's our caller?
William Trimble.
William Trimble, what are you thinking about Christopher Eccleston?
Hello, William.
I don't think he will. I think the best chance he had to come back was during Jodie's era because he liked Jodie Whittaker. As much as I'd like to see him do a cameo maybe or something, I can't see him come back. The best chance maybe 70th anniversary as a cameo like the Guardians of the Veg or something, but with him stopping Big Finish for now, I can't see him returning.
Thank you, William Trimble, with the facts. Yeah, interesting. I've never heard it phrased like that, being like, "Oh, the best chance of Eccleston coming back would have been in Whittaker's run." Never thought of it like that. He did.
It's a very good point.
Didn't he say that? Oh, and the best Doctor's Jodie Whittaker. Is that a Christopher Eccleston quote?
His Comic-Con quote. I've said this to you. I've sometimes, for some reason, I just remember some Christopher Eccleston quotes. I don't know why. Maybe the man lives in my head rent-free. But at one Comic-Con, he talked about different Doctors, and he said, "The father of us all is William Hartnell, but the greatest Doctor is Jodie Whittaker."
Oh, what? Get that on a t-shirt. My goodness gracious me.
It's a good quote. It's a good quote.
Wow, Eccleston with the
Although
facts.
William Hartnell was clearly getting busy if he's the father of us all. Good grief, man.
Yeah, my goodness gracious me. Wow.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. But yeah, that's the first thing to talk about, though. Christopher Eccleston not doing any more Big Finish for the time being. What are your thoughts, Crispy?
Oh, is that true?
Well, he's wrapped up his stuff at the minute. I don't think there's been any definitive statement as to him not doing any more at all. I know there's been some people talking about that, but I think for the time being, he's just stopped for now. But I mean, the man literally said that he just does it for the money. So I imagine he's just going to come back if they go, "Hey, do you want to do some more work?" He just goes, "Yeah."
You want some more money? I bought the first ones he did, and I really enjoyed them, but I haven't gone back. So it doesn't affect me much. I just hope that his relationship with Doctor Who is okay, so that potentially, like William said, maybe in the 70th, if Russell's not involved, he'd be like, "Oh, screw it," Yeah, and it'll be this massive moment.
Okay, so it looks as though how it's worked, because they tend to release their episodes over the course of roughly a year. His second series of audio dramas ended in February 2023, and then just 1 month later in March, it was announced he was having a third season. That third season wrapped up in February this year, so it's been 5 months with no, it didn't, it wrapped up in May this year, I was looking at the wrong section, so it's been 2 months, and they've not said anything, so maybe that's why I've seen a couple of whispers of people being like, "Is he doing more?" I imagine he will. I don't see why he wouldn't.
He might just be having a break. We'll see.
Unless season 3 ends with him, like, going up to meet Rose or something, and we just haven't listened to it, and we don't know. They gave it some definitive ending, but I don't think
that would be sick if that's the case.
It would make us sound very ill-informed, though, if that was the case. Let's hope not.
I feel like that would be all over Twitter if it happened.
Yeah. Which, too much stuff is all over Twitter, man.
Ugh. Blech, I'm over Twitter. Get out of here.
All right.
Bloody
Who's next on
Twitter.
our call sheet? I like that. We should call it a call sheet.
The call sheet. That's funny.
We are like, 30 episodes into this year, into using SpeakPipe, and we've never called it a call sheet. Well, I'm calling it that from now on.
Hello, call sheet. Let's have Peter Capaldi.
Peter Capaldi, not just Peter. Peter Capaldi.
No, Peter Capaldi has called in.
All right, P. Capaldi, what do you got to say?
I'd love for Christopher Eccleston to come back, but I just can't see it happening anytime soon. Of all of the modern Doctors, Matt Smith, David Tennant, again, I can see coming back, but under Russell's current regime, I can't see it. And I think even when Russell eventually finishes being showrunner, perhaps after Shooty's gone, I'm sure he'll carry on in some sort of Kevin Feige-esque executive role. And so I don't think Chris would want to be involved in a production like that.
Ooh, boy.
Ooh. He makes a good point.
He does.
I mean, they are trying to start the Whoniverse, and we've got, at the time this episode goes out, in just 3 days, there's going to be a San Diego Comic-Con panel in Hall H, which is the synonymous hall for Marvel through their big panels with their big reveals. It's a synonymous hall for big panels anyway. So,
do you think there'll be a big reveal? Do we have to prep
I
for that?
think the big reveal in inverted commas is going to be the war between land and sea. I feel like that's bound to get announced, because the panel is called Into the Whoniverse. So that suggests spin-off announcement. Whether there's anything else, I don't know.
Kevin Feige-esque
a timeline on the screen. Oh my god! Someone did that as a joke 3 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, I know. But can you imagine? It's just like Doctor Who season 1, Doctor Who season 2, the war between the land and sea, Doctor Who season 3. That's it. That's all. That's
Doctor
on the
Who,
board.
the 15th Doctor's final adventure, and then that's it. End of the timeline.
Yeah. Look, there's all those rumors too. Tell you what, with all this nonsense that we're talking about right now, there's a little sound that deserves to be had here.
Oh,
If it'll work, if it might not. There we go. Look at that. Bring back the news ding.
the
Bring back
news
the
ding.
news ding. Yeah.
No way.
Because we've got Hall H. We've got you telling me that Eccleston doesn't want to come back. There's a lot going on.
Whoa, misinformation, sir. I said there were people discussing whether he didn't want to
You're
come
telling
back. I
me
don't think so.
Eccleston is sick of Big Finish. You're telling me Eccleston is driving to the studio.
You know what, Crispy?
and
We said we were going to get this recording done so
burning
you
it
could go back
down.
to bed. I'm going to go to bed if you're not careful, Buster. You watch it, sir. We should do a sleeping podcast where we're both just in bed.
Yeah, okay, sure.
We both
I don't
have
know if
beds behind us, it's
everyone
doable.
everyone wants to hear me snore. Okay, so yeah, well that's exciting. I did see that they were going to Comic-Con, but I was like, oh, okay, they're just gonna have like a recap of the series, but they are getting all the cast in as well, aren't they?
Yeah, Shooty, Millie, and Russell are all at the panel as far as I remember.
That's fun.
And yeah, it's happening on Friday. I think it's happening like a couple of hours before Marvel's one. So it's like, for me, that's extremely exciting. I mean, I've been in a
Yeah.
bit of a Marvel lull for a while, but that Captain America 4 trailer, looks much better than the Agatha show. That Agatha show looks mid as hell. bro.
I'm on the reverse. I'm like way more
Really?
hyped for Agatha than I am Captain America: New World Order. Get out of here.
Wow, fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But oh well, special episodes coming up, everyone. So get keen.
We haven't done one in a long time. I would be down for it.
Yeah,
But
you
I
enjoyed
assume the
you
reason-
enjoyed the Star Wars show, didn't you? The
I really like the Acolyte. Didn't deserve the hate it got.
I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of my friends watching it were like, oh yeah, it's sick. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should give it a red hot go.
If you watch it and you want to do a special episode, you give me a shout. But just watch it casually and let me know what you think. And I think you'd enjoy it. What I will say, best lightsaber fighting since the prequels by a long way.
Wow.
Episode 5 has some of the best fight choreography in all of Star Wars, and that's not an overestimation. That's a commonly agreed thing.
That's hot.
So
That's
yeah,
hot.
It's hot as hell. It's hot as hell.
off the press.
Like, all I'm gonna say is kebab. You'll remember that word now when you get into it. Just
Yum,
kebab.
yum,
Just-
yum, yum.
If you've seen the Acolyte, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, but
It's
it's the reason you did
Valentine's
the
Day, and I
news
just
ping.
turned this guy into a effing kebab.
just going back to Doctor Who.
Sorry,
It's not like
yeah.
me to be the one to bring us back, is it? Be careful, because
No.
we'll go to a Pale Waves Road and then we'll never stop.
All right, let's look at callers.
Exactly. No. The news thing. Did you do it because of that article? Did you want to bring that up, or were we kind of not touching that?
Which one? The which one?
Deadline one.
What's the like we're in trouble? Deadline
Yeah.
article? Yeah, why not? Let's screw it. It's our show. We can do what we want.
Make it a short. Make it a short for the YouTube show.
Here we go. Yeah, this will get 1 million views. Here we go.
So, I will just say out the gate, I haven't fully read the article. In fact, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read it. All I've seen are snippets people have shared online, and everyone's surmising it, other people reporting it. So I know what it's about, and I can't bring myself to read it, to be completely honest with you. But the idea is that apparently Disney are not impressed with Doctor Who's performance. The viewing figures aren't high enough. They don't think there's enough interest being driven towards the show, and it's putting the deal into jeopardy post season 2, which has already wrapped filming. So the idea is, Doctor Who might get cancelled by Disney, or what's going to happen with Doctor Who then, blah, blah, blah. Shooty might leave. They've left it apparently open-ended at the end of season 2, so they could do another open regeneration. All this stuff's going on in the article. I don't know if you've read it. Have you read it, Crispy?
No.
Well, I don't know how you feel, but for me personally, I saw all this stuff being shared on Twitter, and I tweeted about it. I went, not even giving it any mind. I'm just going to ignore it, because I'm not being funny. For the last 10 years, Doctor Who has been about to be cancelled. And unless I hear something official that really suggests it, I'm not going to give it any credence personally. I don't really want to engage with it.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what the heck is going on, really. I'm looking at the article now. They talk a lot about the war between the land and the sea.
Do they?
So, yeah. Is that like people are saying that like it's official? So this article is written by
Name and shame.
Oh, Max Goldbert. Max Goldbert.
No.
And they have also written
Empress of Mars.
I just want to see what other stuff they They
Just start naming Doctor Who episodes.
They also wrote, look, I don't know. Layoffs at Love Island producer. Okay, I don't really know. I don't know what's going on. They're an entertainment writer. We'll see. I mean, like, we could write that article, I suppose. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that crazy to assume that, Doctor Who wasn't the most talked about thing on Disney Plus. Maybe I went in with the expectation that it was going to be. I really thought in my head there was a timeline where I would get more people in my real life here in Australia being like, "Oh yeah, I've been watching that new Doctor Who. It's great." So who knows? I don't think the show will get cancelled. Interesting if season 2 is open-ended with a regeneration. I don't know if Shooty wants to leave. We'll see.
I mean, it's possible he does, but I mean, I think we were both under the assumption that he was doing 2 seasons so that he could get a head start in filming Doctor Who, then actually have some time to do other stuff, so then he can come back, rather than suffer from the classic Doctor problem of doing like 3 years and then getting a bit suffocated by it and wanting to do other things and then leaving. By giving himself that artificial gap, my assumption was that it would allow him to play the role for longer, so he could come back and bounce between different roles and not feel that same suffocation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes total sense to me, but we don't know the full story.
Or as Peter Capaldi described it on Graham Norton, a television factory. That was how he worded it.
Television factory.
Which doesn't paint the best picture in terms of free time, does it?
No, poor Capaldi. I reckon there's a big story there.
Well, he said when he wrapped series 10 before filming the Christmas special, they just finished on shoot day 205. Again, I just remember random quotes. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but
God,
205
hectic.
shoot days for a 12 episode series.
It's mental.
So,
it's mental stuff.
Crazy. But that's been your weekly Who's There news segment. Ding ding.
Thank you. Ding dong.
There'll be more weekly news next week in our live episode, Crispy, won't there? Because what are we going to talk about next week? Unless something changes. Wait. I've just realised, Crispy, I gave you an idea for a plan for next week's episode, but next week's live one is going to happen right after the Hall H panel.
Yep, that'll be it. That's it.
It's going to be about Into the Who-niverse, but we might also mention the fact that it's been announced, speaking of Big Finish, that Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill are coming back. 13th Doctor Audio
we'll
Adventures.
talk about that too. I reckon that might, we'll see what's announced at Hall H, if anything. It very well could just be a recap.
What should just be Warp Team Land of the Sea?
Huh?
It won't be a recap of season 1, not in Hall H and not being called Into the Who-niverse. I'm not trying to overhype, but there's definitely at least going to be War Between the Land and the Sea. I put money on it. And I don't even have much money on me, but I would bet you $10 dues that it shows up.
If Freema shows up, I swear.
I mean, it will be in tune with the Hall H panel, but I don't want to go too far. I'm just saying it will be more than a recap of the season, because there'd be no point to a panel, especially in Hall H, of that, because there's a few other things happening, like a live podcast episode with Shooty and Millie that's in like a smaller room at the convention. So like that feels like a better recap of season 1. So I think they're cooking something more there.
All right, let them cook.
Should we talk about Christopher Eccleston?
Yeah.
Throw us a caller. Let's get some more thoughts on Christopher Eccleston returning to Doctor Who.
Logan has a question?
Logan has a question. What is your question, Logan?
Hello?
Will Christopher Eccleston ever return to Doctor Who? I don't know. I mean, he's in Big Finish now, and Russell T Davies can't be at the helm forever, so I think it's possible. I'm much more interested in what you guys think, because originally he was supposed to be in the 50th anniversary replacing the War Doctor. I want to ask you guys, if you could, change the timeline and have Christopher come back for the 50th anniversary, would you? Thanks, guys.
Oh, that's a tough question.
We're not the ones
dude.
normally ask the questions. What is
that's
this?
That's a tough question. I appreciate that. Logan has a question.
Yeah, I do too.
We shouldn't have been so surprised that you had a question.
Well, I mean, yeah, the name of the caller was Logan has a question, so why are we shocked? I also love that SpeakPipe seems to have freaked out and said that we're up to 37 seconds in his 36-second call.
Whoa.
That's freaky.
Time is not what it seems, my friend.
Maybe it's part of this big tech shutdown that happened everywhere. Was it like technology went down everywhere because of some Windows thing or something? I don't even...
Yeah, it was crazy here.
Nothing happening on my end.
One of my girlfriends... one of my girlfriends, that's funny. One of my girlfriend's friends. One of my girlfriend's
text her real quick.
friends.
I hate to break this to you.
Such a bad time for a pause there.
Yeah.
One of my girlfriend's best friends, she said at her work that all of the fridges started to open because they were smart
What?
fridges. Yep. It's weird.
It's like a Doctor Who story in the making,
Yeah,
that. Maybe
yeah.
Russell had an idea, you never know.
One night across the world, all of the fridges start to open.
The invasion of the fridge doors.
The invasion of the very small fridge doors. Yeah,
Oh.
very good.
That
but
sounds
the
like a very
question- the
smart
question
episode
w-
idea.
The question was, Christopher Eccleston, would we have preferred him in the 50th? That's rough because, I mean, we got John Hurt's beautiful performance as the
Yeah.
War Doctor out of that. But if you asked me in 2013, I would have been like, yeah, of course. But now, look, I think the numbering of the Doctors really does not matter, and I think that very much helped the argument. And like, it's just, yeah, John Hurt's performance as the War Doctor, I think, is incredibly memorable. So, if
I'd say
Christopher
John
Eccleston
Hurt,
wasn't
if
gonna
that
do
helps
it-
you at all. I back John Hurt. I mean, there's the argument
Yeah.
of, oh, well, if it had been Christopher Eccleston, we'd never have known about the John Hurt one anyway, so we wouldn't know what we were missing out on. But we do
Yeah.
know what we're missing out on in this scenario, so I can't
Exactly.
argue against like having that portrayal when it is really good in that episode. Like, if I ranked all the Doctors, modern Doctors, like favourite to least favourite like a week or two ago, and I put War at the second bottom, but the only reason I did that was because there isn't enough of him. I did the same thing with
Yeah.
with
We
Nine.
need
If
more.
the Ninth Doctor had been in more than one season, I'd rank him higher. But for me, I'd like it's about attachment to the Doctors now, which I love them, and the amount of time they spend does play a part. I can only imagine how amazing John Hurt would have been with like a series or something, because in that one episode, he delivered an absolute like blow the roof off performance. It's
It's
fantastic.
fantastic. It's so damn good. It's so damn good.
The voice does a lot of it, in fairness. His voice was just one of a kind.
John Hurt is like he's the dragon in Merlin, isn't he?
Yep, that's how I knew
Yeah.
him when he got into Doctor
Yeah.
Who. I was like, it's the voice of the dragon from Merlin.
His voice is iconic. What an absolute
Yeah.
king.
So, Crispy, do you
Yes.
think Christopher Eccleston will ever return to Doctor Who?
No, not at all.
Well, it plays into the argument that was made earlier from William, which is Russell T Davies, he could end up being, that was why we went on the massive detour, actually, now I think about it. He could end up being a kind of Kevin Feige type person, overseeing it and letting different people show run. That's not impossible. Like, especially if they're setting up this Whoniverse thing. If for argument's sake, this deadline thing is right, which, like I said, I'm paying no credence to, but on the assumption that it was, and Disney pulled out after 2 seasons, I would imagine Russell would still carry on with the BBC and establish the Whoniverse. It's not like they'd shut the plans down after 2 seasons. Like, he'll want to keep that going with or without Disney's backing, I would hope.
I wonder because I wonder what Russell feels like right now. I really do wonder
Delighted.
what Russell. I don't know if he's delighted. I think. Well, he said in a different interview somewhere that he was like, "Look, they're not we're happy, but it's not exactly what we wanted, but we're happy." And there's still no commission for series 3, which is interesting. So I would love to know how he feels and maybe his like plans have changed. Maybe if season 1 was a bigger hit, he would step into this Kevin Feige-esque role. But maybe he's like, you know what? I'll just do my time here, and it can go to the next guy. I had a risk. It went well, but not as well as it should have gone.
Very
That's
true.
my
Actually, to be
thoughts.
fair, I've just realised if anyone is listening to us and doesn't have a clue what we're saying about becoming a Kevin Feige is the guy
Oh, yeah,
who
we should say that.
orchestrates all of the Marvel Studios, like the MCU movies and TV shows. So he doesn't direct any individual story, but he serves as like an executive producer over everything and steering the general narrative of where it's going. So, like Russell in that role, he wouldn't be the showrunner, but he'd manage maybe what the showrunner's story arcs and things are and everything around the different shows and inverted
Do we
commas
want
that
that?
exist.
Do we want that?
Well, I've made the argument that Moffat's the best writer, but Russell's the best showrunner. So if you asked me to pick someone to be a Kevin Feige of Doctor Who, I would pick Russell. I think he'd be the best person for the job.
Imagine Moffat doesn't write anything. Imagine he doesn't write anything for the season, but he is the Kevin Feige-esque type.
That
Imagine
actually would be pretty well suited to him, I think, because he struggled sometimes with like big story arcs, but his individual stories were fantastic.
Yeah, so imagine if he was like just tasked with the story arc, like that was his whole thing, and
Yeah.
didn't have to. But I mean, like you're absolutely right. Like Moffat works well in his single story stuff. That's just beautiful. Love the man. But like, even if Moffat, like we've said it a million times, whoever's in the showrunner role is just going to get hate, no matter what they do. No matter what they do.
Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same, as Thanos would say.
Yeah, amen.
As Thanos would say. So,
All right.
yeah. I don't either. I'm not sure Christopher Eccleston will ever return. We'll do a bit of a deep dive into the article I mentioned after our very next caller. So, Crispy, pick again. You're in charge, man. Who's the next caller going to be?
We got Susie here. Let's listen to Susie.
What do you got to say? What do you think? I'm trying to think of a rhyme with Susie, but I couldn't think of one. So maybe this call's a doozy.
There we go. Here we go. Hi, Susie.
I really think that Christopher Eccleston will not come back because I think he's still kind of like a bit bitter about things because he said only if Russell T wasn't there and all this stuff. I think he's slowly warming back up to it, but I don't think he'll be back on the show at any time soon. But that's just what I thought. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.
Susie, you're a legend, and we appreciate you. Thank you for calling in.
The coolest accents I've heard from a caller. I've said this before, I just love hearing the different accents.
Let us know where you're from,
The
Susie.
Incredibles, which I mean is a huge compliment.
The Incredibles? What?
It just sounded a bit like Elastigirl. Am I the only one who thought that?
No, I can see that. I'm not quite sure what.
And I mean that as a big compliment, and that's one of my favourite films, The Incredibles. I adore that film.
It is my favourite film of all time. Hands down.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it's my favourite movie of all time.
Oh, your taste is showing, good sir.
You are Elastigirl, darling.
Knockapes.
Knockapes.
You sly dog. You got me monologuing.
Oh, man, it's just like, it's actually the best
When are we
film.
going to do a special episode on The Incredibles?
I would love to. I'm so excited for those 74 views we get. But it's so
the Marvels
good.
pulled a couple hundred and most people didn't even watch that film, so...
Yeah, true. The Incredibles is a beautiful film. But yes, thank you, Susie.
You could say it is amazing. You thought I was going to say incredible, didn't you?
Yeah.
Trolled. Got him. So, Crispy,
take us through this beautiful article, sir.
Let me take you through it. So, as I said, this is an article from The Direct, and just to fully quote their title, so you can look it up if you wish, the title is Christopher Eccleston brutally criticises his Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies for, quote, mess of a show.
Ooh, that's a title. Well done. Well done.
This is a few... It's interesting. So, like I said, most of this is taken from a appearance at a Comic-Con in December of 2023 for the Love of Sci-Fi. Ironically, I was at that convention. I just didn't see that talk in particular.
Oh.
But he did a talk. It was with Billy Piper, I think. I think they both did it together. So here's a big, long section. I'm just going to read this bit out in its entirety. So first off, when he was asked if he would come back to Doctor Who, his reply was, sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back. So can you arrange that? That was the tidbit that went everywhere. He said, if you get rid of all them, I'll come back, which, as we know, has happened before. Like, Moffat and Chibnall show eras didn't have any of those people involved. So that's basically suggesting next time an era comes around where none of them are involved, I'll come back.
I think one of them was involved in Series 5.
Okay, possibly then.
But that's it. That's just to be really nitpicky.
But it opens a door
you're
if Russell
absolutely
goes for Eccleston to come back, which is interesting.
But is he going to? Will he?
I don't know. But he says the Ninth Doctor actor was also questioned on if he dislikes still being associated with the show. He said, quote, not at all. I love being associated. I just don't like being associated with those people and the politics that went on in the first series. The first series was a mess, and it wasn't to do with me or Billy. It was to do with the people who were supposed to make it, and it was a mess. He also, interestingly, goes on a bit about the BBC, which I think is quite interesting. He says, the first series, nobody wants to know. The BBC were like, we're going to keep a big distance from this. And then as soon as it was a success, they were all up close going, I was responsible for that. But at the time, they all kept a distance. This is Eccleston's folly, Piper's folly, Russell's folly. And then it worked. Suddenly, oh yeah, I worked on that. They wouldn't come anywhere near us, then they would jump on the bandwagon. Those kinds of politics I'm not very good at handling. I can't swallow that. Stuff. Redacted, edited from another word. Yeah, so very, very intriguing.
That's an intense quote there. I would love to know what was going on 2004, 2005 in Doctor Who land, behind the scenes, because it created such a beautiful series with a beautiful Doctor and companion duo, and it sounds like there was just so much drama.
But
the drama,
what happened between them, Crispy? I hear you ask.
What happened between them?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, my friend. I'm so glad you asked, because this article also mentions several other comments he made at different times. First one was speaking with Radio Times back in 2018. If you can believe it, that was 6 years ago. Do you feel old yet? Eccleston was asked about why he left Doctor Who, and he said, "My relationship with 3 immediate superiors, the showrunner, producer, and co-producer, broke down irreparably during the first block of filming, and it never recovered. They lost trust in me, and I lost faith and trust and belief in them." But then he also said, back in 2010, he told the Evening Standard, "I wasn't comfortable. I thought if I stay in this job, I'm going to have to blind myself to certain things that I thought were wrong. And I think it's more important to be your own man than to be successful. So I left. But the most important thing is that I did it, not that I left. And I really feel that because it kind of broke the mold and helped reinvent it, I'm very proud of it." He also said he didn't enjoy the environment and the culture that we, the cast and crew, had to work in. So
what is going on?
Very interesting.
What is going on? So did all of this happen, and then they lost their leading man, and then they had a massive meeting being like, we need to be really nice to the next guy. And now it's like his favourite thing, and he won't stop being the Doctor. Do you reckon that's happened?
Well, so you mean... Wait, hang on. So that, what do you mean? What's your question there? I'm a bit confused.
I'm saying that, like, it sounds like life on set was horrible. It sounds like production didn't know what they were doing. It sounds like the higher-ups weren't very professional in that sense, and they lost Eccleston, their leading man. And so when that happened, the reality set in being like, oh, we've only got him for 1 season. And so when the next guy came in, who was David Tennant, they were like, all right, we're going to have to switch things up around here. We're going to have to be really professional, really nice, really considerate. And now, David Tennant is still the Doctor. Like, he obviously loves the show and did not have the same relationship with the show as Eccleston. So I just want to know what the difference was there. Is like, what happened? What actually happened with Eccleston? 'Cause it sounds like it was quite early on where he was like, nah, screw this. I'm going to finish the series. I'm going to, I'm signed on for 1 series. I wonder if he was signed on for multiple. But he signed on for the series. He's going to do it and leave. And I like respect to the man for actually going through. There are a lot of actors out there who I think would be like, nah, screw this. I'm not doing another day of shooting.
Yeah, well, I was just looking something up to try and figure out, because there have been arguments, and I feel like it would be unfair not to mention them just from an objective standpoint, because I don't think either of us want to make comments particularly either way. But one of the other common theories, because one of the quotes Christopher Eccleston said there, just to reiterate it, he said, "If I stay in this job, I'm going to have to blind myself to certain things I thought were wrong." Now, some people have said that possibly ties to behaviour from 2 of his co-stars, one being Noel Clarke, who several years ago, who plays Mickey, by the way, was accused of about 20 different cases of sexual misconduct. I do believe that those accusations never went anywhere. Maybe it was insufficient evidence or he was acquitted. I'm not going too much into that, but far as I know, from what I can Google, from some high court charges, like, it sounds like he spun it as more as libel, and it's more gone through that way, and he's trying to clear his name. So whether that makes them true or not, I don't know about you, Crispy. I don't want to touch that. Just stating that could be something there.
Okay.
And then there was also some misconduct from John Barrowman, which has come in and out of media circulation over the years, and most recently it coming up again, and his kind of, without going into too much detail, his refusal to just apologise and clear it up again, even though he previously apologised, he'd done it again since. But I don't want to go into the behaviour itself because it's a little bit bizarre, to be honest, what he'd done, so you can Google it if you're intrigued. But it could be, people have argued, that behaviour from 1 or 2 of those people, who both featured notably in some filming blocks for Doctor Who's first season, played a part in it. The argument against that, though, is Noel Clarke and John Barrowman didn't really do much in the first filming blocks. Correct me if I'm wrong, the first filming block was episodes 4 and 5, the Slitheen 2-parter, correct?
I couldn't tell you. I can
Let's
find
have a look.
it.
Doctor Who Series 1 filming blocks. Let's have a little peek. Production block. Will it show us it in here?
This is a strange thing for us to be doing.
It's a little... Well, I think it's interesting. Do you?
No, I do think it's interesting. I do.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like I said, I'm staying personally, don't want to speak for both of us, but I assume you're the same as me, staying completely objective on that, because I don't want to dive into personal feelings either way there. I don't think that's our job, honestly, to touch on that. But it presents an interesting argument as to could that be what caused it. I'm going to go off on a limb, because I remember hearing it recently. I think the first scene they filmed was stuff with the space pig in Aliens of London. So I think it was starting with the Slitheen 2-parter. If that's the case, Eccleston had a couple of scenes with Noel Clarke, but not many, and John Barrowman wasn't even in it by that point. So that is something against that playing a part. So who knows?
Apparently the first thing they filmed was Rose, and then it was, the Slitheen two-parter.
Oh, okay.
So that's but is the Eccleston's just saying the first block of filming when he actually means, like, something else?
Well, he said, my relationship with three immediate superiors broke down rapidly during the first block of filming and never recovered. They lost trust in me, and I lost faith and trust and belief in them. If I stay in this job, I'm going to have to blind myself to certain things I thought were wrong. So it suggests it's most likely first block. So I don't think it's to do with either of those two. It's worth noting for a more interesting picture to look at different options and possibilities, but I don't personally think it's down to that based on our conclusions here. I think really at the end of the day, we're never really going to know what caused it. There's ideas like those, but I don't think there's anything with enough credence to back why things went wrong. Your thoughts, Crispy?
No, I agree. I mean, like, it's his life. It's his decision. He's allowed to. And it's hard to point the finger and, kind of see how things could have been different. Eccleston's first series is so unique and so treasured and so beloved. And as he said, he kind of broke the mold there. Especially, this is this is the longest running sci-fi show of all time, and he was able to make his mark in 13 episodes. So well played to him. Thank you for doing more of the Big Finish stuff for the diehard fans out there, so that they're able to have a little bit more of Eccleston's Doctor. But I am grateful for what we got, and I just hope he's all right. I hope he's all right, and he's not seeing too much rubbish in the park.
Absolutely, yeah, true. But that's the thing, because you wonder. I mean, another mention here is he told Radio Times he considered coming back to Doctor Who for the 2013 special Day of the Doctor. He said, but the BBC had still not apologised to me. I liked Stephen Moffat a lot, and I considered it. And Stephen said the same thing. He almost had Christopher Eccleston on board. He told him what was going on. He told him what he wanted him to do, and Christopher was interested, but because the BBC hadn't apologised, he just didn't go for it.
Wow, so, I would love to know, like, what does he imagine? Is that just Russell and Phil? Or is that like an official statement from whoever the CEO at the BBC was in 2013, being like, we apologise for the misconduct or whatever on Christopher Eccleston's first series of Doctor Who that made him feel like this? Well, I just want to know what that apology looks like.
There was the thing where when he first announced that he was leaving Doctor Who, the BBC put out an article, and I can't remember the wording of it, but it was inflammatory against him. Whatever the word is. It was negative towards him. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was negative against him and unfairly negative because he'd said that himself and Russell and everything had amicably. Blummin' heck, my words today. They'd amicably agreed, right, this isn't going to work. I'm going to do this first series and I'm stepping off. And they'd agreed to just keep it civil. And then the BBC article came out that was quite defamatory against him. And he was like, what the hell? And the BBC did apologise for that at the time. Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know.
Yeah, it made it like harder for him to
tell you what, though,
jobs.
As the meme goes, if I had a nickel for every time Stephen Moffat nearly convinced an old doctor to do more Doctor Who, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Who else did he convince?
David Tennant nearly had him on to be the Doctor for Series 5, didn't he? If you don't know that story, that's a wild one.
That's a
Stephen
good one.
Moffat's original pitch for Series 5 was going to be the 10th Doctor landing in Amy Pond's back garden about to regenerate, and the whole series was chronicling up to that with an older Amy, and then it catching up to young Amy, him landing and regenerating. Which
so
is
cool.
Yeah, a crazy idea. Cool. I'm glad what we got with Matt Smith, though. It was fantastic. But I will always wonder. Why don't we get an animated Doctor Who What If, like Marvel, and then the What If season is that season with David, like what the differences would be? That'd be cool. David would voice it, he would.
Yeah, he would. He'd spend an afternoon
I
or
want
two
that
doing
now,
that.
I've said it.
Well, Hall H is very, very soon, my friend.
Oh, yeah, imagine. Oh, but there you go. So that's some of the information that we know, some possible theories that I feel like I've debunked as well, about Christopher Eccleston returning to Doctor Who. Crispy, should we take another caller and see if anyone else has got any other thoughts?
Yes, let's hear from Rebecca.
Rebecca, what have you got to say?
Hello.
Hi, Crispy. Hi, Troy. That's a tricky question because Christopher Eccleston very much appreciates the Doctor Who fandom and has shown that over the years. but it seems that he has a bit of a contentious relationship with production and working on the show. So I think if he was involved with the right people, I think if he was involved with maybe a different production team, I think he'd give it a go, and I hope he does one day.
I have a theory.
What's your theory?
What if one day Doctor Who is run by people that were, like kids growing up and watching his Doctor Who? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like us.
like
people
Russell
that
was at the time.
Yeah, yeah, like I get the feeling that maybe one day Doctor Who will be, with people like us in power that grew up on Eccleston's Doctor Who and were like, all right, we're gonna make it right for him. We're gonna I just feel like he would respond to that story more, being like, I grew up with you. I've always wanted you to come back onto the screen, away from all of the politics of 2005. That's just
absolutely. It's not impossible, and I think combining what we've said about, he almost came back for the 50th. Combining together the fact that he now does Big Finish and does a lot of conventions, and he has this newfound love for the fans and the Doctor that he definitely had at the time, but has really resurfaced in recent years. I think if someone was in charge, even if it was, like you said, someone who was a fan of his at the time, or even if it wasn't, as long as it wasn't associated with Russell T Davies, I do think there's a decent chance he'd come back. The question is, when will that happen, and will it happen, and will Russell T Davies be involved at all? It's an interesting thought experiment, but I do think personally there is a non-zero chance of him coming back. How high above zero? I couldn't say, but I definitely think there's a non-zero chance.
Well put. Someone earlier mentioned about like the Guardians of the Edge thing. Now, hypothetical here. Imagine he's been on the phone for weeks every day. Calling Eccleston, they're having 30-minute chats each day. He's going, yes, no, unsure. Eventually convinces him to do it. They film a little cameo scene, Guardians of the Edge, for Jodie's last episode, The Power of the Doctor. Then, way later after filming, like months after, it's announced that Russell T Davies is coming back to Doctor Who, and at the tail end of that episode, David Tennant is the Doctor. Is Christopher Eccleston picking up the phone being like, edit me out of the episode?
If he'd known that information, possibly. I think there's a decent chance, yes. But there's also the argument that even had he filmed that, they didn't even know at the time, like, we didn't know David Tennant was going to be in that episode until it aired.
I know, absolutely. So he would have filmed it, because it's like purely
I mean,
Chrissy Chibs.
like, we didn't officially know. I mean, he could have asked on the inside and got the information. So assuming he didn't do that or couldn't do that, the audience only found out David Tennant was coming back in that episode when it aired. So it would have been too late for him to find it and say, edit me out. Do you know what I mean?
I see. Yes. Okay,
had
but
he found out about it early somehow, had, for example, it come out about Russell show running, and he then asked the question and gone, what's happening? Is his stuff happening at the end of the episode or whatever it may be? Well, then again, even just knowing he was coming back would insinuate that there'd be some Russell theme thing at the end of the episode. That would be enough for him to go, do you know what? I'm out. To answer your question, yes, I think there's a chance he would have done that.
Anyway, that was just a fun hypothetical.
I like it, yeah.
That was fun.
I like a good hypothetical at 8 a.m. in the morning in Australia.
Let's take one more caller. We'll call it a day.
Okay.
Let's have Dr. Master. Hello, Dr. Master.
4-second call. Let's see how this one finishes it off.
Hello.
No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 119 of Who's There, a Doctor Who podcast.
Wow.
Crispy is going to go back to bed, so before you do, buddy, what are your closing comments?
Chrissy Eccleston, if you're listening to this, we appreciate you. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having good walks in the park. And, just keep doing you, man. I loved you in G.I. Joe. Thank you.
Well said. I loved him most in Thor: The Dark World.
He actually was very good at that. Oh,
he was pretty good. I mean, he doesn't have fond memories of that either, to be fair.
No. Oh, Eccleston. The tragic case. But we appreciate you got mad respect, bro.
Would you come back to Doctor Who? Sack Kevin Feige, sack Louis Despacito, sack whoever else, Victoria Alonso. She's already been sacked, never mind. Yeah, whatever. Like, you do that, and then I'll come back to Thor. Sack Taika Waititi. He wasn't even involved. Sack him.
But sack him.
I feel like they kind of already have after Love and Thunder, unfortunately. But that's my personal sadness, because I like Taika, but either way. We will be back next week, as you said, in a live episode. We haven't decided when it's going to be, but Saturday or Sunday, most likely,
It'll be
Crispy,
live.
correct?
It'll be live. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Keep an eye out on the YouTube channel. We will schedule it ahead of time, but on audio platforms, it will release on Tuesday at 6 a.m. BST as per usual. So if you're an audio listener, nothing will change for you. But if you want to watch it live on YouTube, keep an eye out. You can join our Discord server. A link to that is in the YouTube channel description and also, or YouTube video description, and also in our link tree. So that's another way to find out sooner than everyone else. And also bear in mind, in our live episodes, it's exclusive callers for patrons. So if you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Who'sADW, you can send in a hotline call for next week's episode.
It's going to be
Crispy?
hot, hot, hot.
Isn't it just? I think that covers everything, don't you, sir?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good to me.
Then let's leave it there. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Who's There, a Doctor Who podcast. We will see you all very soon with our Hall H breakdown, 13th Doctor returning, and whatever else happens discussion episode. Until then, it's goodbye from Crispy.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from me. Goodbye. And I've said that as if there's a third guest here, so it's goodbye from Mr. Razor. Goodbye, my dear. We'll see you all next time. Alan Z, baby.
Hello, Z, baby.